Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Cedric Thomas and Diaria Henry Brown. Cedric and Diaria are leaders of the Black Professional MBA Student Organization, a student club that is open to all executive MBA and part-time MBA students here at the Darden School of Business. And I recently connected with Cedric and Diaria to talk more about their decision to pursue an MBA, what led them to Darden, Black Professional MBA's plans for the year ahead, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the ExecMBA podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. And now, without further ado, here is my conversation with Cedric Thomas and Diaria Henry Brown. Cedric, Diaria, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, morning, Brett. How are you doing?
All right. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on the show. Cedric, how's everything?
Everything is going well. I've opted into some of the second year recruiting, so that's really been keeping me busy the last couple of months on top of class, on top of work. So I'm ready for some of that to wind down, hopefully.
All right. I know it's always a full plate for part-time MBA students. Diaria, how about for you? How are you doing?
Yeah, just wrapping up my first year, so things are going well. Lots on my plate. I'm not recruiting just yet, but getting I have multiple roles in student organizations, so those keep me quite busy. In addition to all the things I do outside of school with my sorority and community service and all of that. So lots going on, but all good.
Yeah, again, very, very typical story for part-time MBA students here at the Darden School of Business. So appreciate your taking some time out of your mornings to join for this conversation. We're going to start just by learning a little bit more about you, and then we're going to transition second half of the conversation to talk about the Black Professional MBA Student Organization, one of 10 student organizations. And there's also a number of interest groups that serve our professional degree students here at the Darden School. But let's first learn about you. So Diaria, can I come to you first? Tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
I guess we'll start at the beginning. So my name is Diaria Henry Brown. I am originally from Oakland, California, currently based in Washington, D.C. I went to Howard for undergrad, and I have been working in tech for the last 12 or 13 years, doing various roles within the marketing, engineering, innovation type spaces. So I've had lots of event experience. I've gotten to travel with my job. Yeah, just lots of really interesting and innovative things that I've been able to do. And I'm just finishing my first year at Darden in the part-time 27 program.
All right, Cedric, tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
Sure. So my name is Cedric Thomas. I'm in part-time 2026. I live in Northern Virginia, been here pretty much my whole life. I went to school down in Richmond. And my career has primarily been in defense and technology, where I'm currently a senior manager at a tech company managing all of our professional services for the U.S. intelligence community.
All right, Cedric, I'm going to stay with you for this next question. How did you get interested in pursuing an MBA? And how did you decide this was the right step for you from an education standpoint?
Yeah, I initially sought out an MBA to keep growing in my current lane. Here at Darden, we call those climbers. At the time, that was my plan to continue moving from just my more tactical project management role to a more strategic program management role. And I was already doing a lot of that work in everything but the title and the compensation. But I knew I wouldn't be competitive or considered for those roles without having more experience or investing in my education. So I chose to make that leap, and an MBA seemed like the best way to get that under my belt.
And what led you to Darden specifically?
I was not a good student in undergrad, and I knew that if I was going to go back to school, I wanted to do it the quote unquote right way. And my process was actually pretty quick. I knew I wanted to be at a top school, and Darden is consistently top 10, top 15, depending on your source. I knew I wanted wonderful professors. Again, Darden is always at the top of the list. I knew I wanted an in-person component. especially in a post-COVID world. I was not comfortable with the opportunity cost of quitting my job, uprooting my life for a full-time program. But at the same time, if it was fully remote or online, I knew that I would not be taking school seriously or see a lot of the benefit that you get from an MBA program, missing out on social activities, making friends, networking, all that good stuff. So I had a short list of schools, um, and I really think by happenstance, I was just Googling and I saw that Darden had recently welcomed their first cohort of students for a part-time program at SFG in Arlington. And I was like, okay, that's it. Took the GRE. I only applied to Darden just to see how it'd pan out. And thankfully, I had a good conversation with Brett, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I remember. Seems like forever ago, not that long ago. But yes, that's how a lot of it starts for people, right? We offer one-on-one conversations. You can speak with a member of our team, get your questions answered. We do a lot of events and programming too, webinars, in-person events. Join us for a class visit. There's so many ways to learn about the part-time program. And it's hard to believe we're now recruiting the fifth class of part-time MBA students. So we're getting there. How about for you, Dioria? How did you get interested in pursuing MBA and what led you to Dartmouth?
Yeah, so an MBA was always on my roadmap. I did not study business or marketing or communications or anything tech related. In undergrad, I studied African American studies, and I ended up in the tech field because of a mentor who thought I had a lot of transferable skills. And with me being in the tech space, everything I know about marketing, I learned on the job. So for me, this was a way to kind of bridge a gap that I felt that I had uh, with a lot of my peers that I came in, because I came into kind of a cohort situation with my first job, and they hired about 50 of us straight out of undergrad. So for me, after working in the space and like being completely hands on, it was important for me to kind of take a step back and figure out the places that I may have missed or I needed to strengthen. Like I'd never taken an accounting class, I'd never taken a formal business class, marketing class, anything like that. So an MBA for me was that. So I had a short list of schools, and yeah, I wasn't, top of my class or anything, but I was super involved in a lot of activities. So I think similar to what Cedric said, I wanted to do it right this time. So I had been doing research for probably a year or two on all the different programs. Initially, I was fully committed to doing a virtual program because of my work schedule. And then I decided that maybe I would consider some part time programs as well. Um, so as I was looking at schools, honestly, I did not know about Darden, if I'm completely honest. I didn't know what an exceptional school it was until I was talking to a friend of mine who is from this area, and I was mentioning to him that I wanted to pursue an MBA, and he asked me, he's like, "Well, are you considering Darden?" I was like, no, not really. He's like, there's no way you can be in this area and not consider Darden. So he actually is the person who told me that Darden had a part-time program. And I went to the website and I saw all of the different things that Darden had available, the clubs, the activities, just seemed like a very welcoming community. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So then I reached out, I had my conversation with Brett. I interviewed, and I had an amazing experience. And I think I knew from my very first interaction that this was somewhere that I really wanted to be.
Thank you both. You're now here. You kind of shared where you are in your respective MBA journeys. Diaria, how's it been going, adjusting to work and life in school, navigating the core curriculum as a part-time student?
Yeah, it was really tough at first. It was super tough. Being out of school for 10 plus years, it's one of those things where you have to learn how to learn again. And with the way technology has grown so much since I was a student, there are so many different ways that you can get to learn. And Darden is, case method plus, Socratic method. So, pretty much half of your grade depends on you participating in class, which means you have to be super well prepared and depending on the class, you might have, 20-page cases, or you might have 3-page cases. It really just depends on where you are. So I think for me, it was just a matter of figuring out balance and reaching out to, either my learning team or to my advisor to make sure that I had help in areas that I didn't feel as strong in. So it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve at first, but I feel pretty good now. I think I've gotten to the swing of it. Only took a year, but here I am.
Well, it's not unusual for working professional students to take a little time to figure out their schedule. Like, what's your approach? How do you manage school? What do you do? Work on the weekends, weeknights? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So my learning team meets on the weekends for a couple hours. Everybody kind of takes a stab at the case, and then we come together to, talk through our cases, talk through our processes, and if there's any questions, and there's, someone who's maybe more of an expert than others, we'll lean on them a little bit more for a bit of the teaching, which has been really nice. And then for me personally, I try to do a lot of my reading during the week. There's a lot of great tech tools that can be used. Some of our cases are available on audio, so sometimes I can listen to my case while I'm like going for a walk. So it makes it really easy for me to, kind of multitask and then, go back and take notes where I need to. So I do usually try to do my reading during the week, and then, if there's any assignments or like process work, I try to save that for the weekend. So that's typically my approach.
I imagine that's something you've kind of honed over the past year. Makes
Yes.
sense. You
Yes.
have a lot of opportunity to practice, right? It's iterative process here, and in a lot of directions at Darden. So, Cedric, you're a little bit further along in your journey. What was it like to adjust to work and life in school? And you mentioned you've got the career piece going on right now too. So, I know that takes a lot of time as well.
Yeah, for sure. At the start, I felt very similar to Diaria, where I'd been out of school for like 10, 12 years, something like that. And I had never taken an accounting class. I'd never taken finance. And those are, the early boogeymen of the core curriculum. Um, but what I really want to hone on is what she said about balance. I was fortunate in that I mostly work remotely. So the adjustment wasn't quite as steep of a drop for me as it was for some of my classmates. But there are people who go through like major life events, and I was one of them. And that really forces you to think how you want to manage your time and energy. I think the biggest challenge is finding that balance because you only have so many hours in a day. And when you add school into the mix, it essentially means you're taking time away from something else that you were already doing. So, some quarters I might have spent 10 hours a week, including class, on academics, while others it would have been closer to 20. And that's just the coursework, not even going into things like recruiting or extracurriculars. And on that piece, there are times where it can really stack up. In the last uh, like 2 months or so, because I've been going through all of this recruiting, um, I've basically had extra extra stuff on top of my academics every week for the past 2 months, whether it's club activities, recruiting events, networking. So it really can feel overwhelming at times, and it's on you to really find a way to lean on your support system, whether that is your learning team, whether that is your loved ones, your family, the people that are close to you, however you can to communicate with them, to have them support you because you're not going to be able to do it all alone. And having that understanding and encouragement really helps you navigate the demands of the program.
Yeah. How do you continue that conversation as you go through the program, Cedric? So obviously, it's one thing to have a conversation prior to starting. You kind of have a sort of abstract idea of what the time commitment might look like, but then as you go through, you mentioned it. I think both of you have mentioned here, it's not just this linear process where your time's perfectly predictable and you know exactly how much time school's going to take. Right? Classes change, work changes. It's a dynamic environment. So how do you continue those conversations with your support network? How do you bring them into this process?
Um, I think in the program, you get pretty quick at planning ahead, whether that is for your actual academic work or just your life schedule, because you got to make time for the things that you're really interested in. And you have to be intentional about things. So, uh, I can't tell someone else how to communicate to their people. However, being transparent, making sure that you are setting your priorities for what you're trying to get out of the experience.
I think that priority piece is a really important thing to keep in mind as you look at an MBA program, whether it's full-time or working professional program, part-time executive MBA. Being clear about why you're here and what you want to get out of it, that can really help you figure out where you're going to put your time and energy in those weeks where everything's a little bit crazy and you feel really stretched, which will happen. That happens for everybody, regardless of MBA program or format. We're talking about, y'all respectively having a lot on your plates and a lot that's going on in your lives personally, professionally, academically, but you also have decided to be leaders of a student organization, Black Professional MBA Student Organization. Diaria, how did you decide you wanted to get involved with BPMBA?
So for me, I went to an HBCU for undergrad. So the sense of community was one that was very familiar to me. And I think I found that in Darden overall. And then specifically making sure that I stayed connected to people who look like me, who may have shared experiences very similar to mine, was very important to me. So I knew coming in, I mean, even from the website, as I was, looking at programs, I could see that this program was offered and or not, or that the program offered it, but I saw that this club was available to me. So I mean, before I even came, I knew that I wanted to be part of this club. So it was a really easy transition for me. And honestly, this club is one of the reasons that I'm here. It was a decision maker for me. I'm gonna detour a little bit and shameless plug Cedric because I tell him all the time that he's one of the main reasons that I decided on Darden. And it was because of a podcast. We're doing a podcast now, but it was actually a conversation with potential students and the Black MBA group, Black Professional MBA Club. We got to have a conversation, and I think it was during the workday, and I ended up having to leave. And Cedric actually reached out to me on LinkedIn because I had to leave early, and he said, "Hey, I saw you had to leave early. Did you want to connect on anything? I don't know if you had any questions." And I was so surprised because I wasn't expecting anybody to reach out. And for me, that made me feel like I wasn't just a number. I wasn't just a number on an application, checking a box. It definitely made me feel seen, and I don't think I got that from any of the other programs that I applied to. So it was super important for me as I came into the program to make sure that I could join a group like that and also be the help that I got for myself. So shout out to Cedric. He hates the he hates the shine, but it really did mean a lot to me that he did that.
Cedric, obviously having a lot of impact. And I will say our students play a huge role in our admissions process, just sharing their experience, connecting with prospective students, helping admitted students figure out what Darden's all about. And I think they are our best ambassadors in so many ways. Cedric, how did you decide to get involved with the Black Professional MBA Student Organization?
Sure. So mine is a little less altruistic, but I was really just looking for an easy sense of community. Like, I don't want to say it's plug and play, but this is a group where I knew that I would be accepted right away. And we can have shared experiences, conversations, and a good way to build community. Um, I am now a returning president, but this stays true throughout because the cycles are off sync between part-time and EMBA cohorts. I wanted to make sure that the organization had some level of continuity in leadership, especially because that first year is such a big adjustment for most people. So making sure that we can keep growing as a club and improving the experience for the cohorts after us. And then on top of that, again, I selfishly wanted to hold myself accountable for doing school the right way for me this time. And that meant being involved in extracurriculars, potentially pursuing student leadership in some way or form, and actually contributing to more than just my own experience. So, although it helped me meet people, socialize, build those connections, it's also helping me help others as well. I love Diaria's story. It warms my heart, and she's not the only person that has had a similar experience, whether that's with me or someone else.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon story that we hear here on the podcast for sure, where a student will talk about someone who was in a class ahead of them or an alum really kind of reaching out or engaging with them, and that being the interaction that led them to conclude that Darden was the right place for them. That is not an unfamiliar story at all. Cedric, for folks, obviously, the Black Professional MBA is kind of a community within the community. I think that's been highlighted here, both your comments. What would you want to know? Else would you want people to know about the Black Professional MBA student organization?
Very open-ended, but a brief answer is, hey, we are here for you. We are here to foster a community. We are here to build connections, provide opportunities for career growth, and at least very important to me is helping bridge the opportunity gap for prospective students through mentorship and guidance. So there's a ton of different ways we go about doing those. We do podcasts like this. Brett, you welcome the club. I think every year for the past couple of years. So that's always a great experience. Um, we are more than happy to do um, open-ended not interview, but conversational Q&As with prospective students. We go about having Friday night live sessions at SFG. We participate in social activities. We have more educational activities that we have. We also try and do some cross collaboration with BBSA when schedules and time allow.
A couple more questions for you as we again talk about what's to come. I know y'all have a lot going on right now, but Diaria, is there anything that the Black Professional MBA student organization is thinking about right now in terms of events, activities, anything that's in the works?
Yeah, so yesterday we actually had our first general body meeting, which was super exciting. And again, our club is for all of the professional programs. So it's Cedric and I, and also Farah Thompson from the Executive MBA program is our VP of Alumni Outreach. So we have a fall social coming up. We also have a Friday night live scheduled for Black History Month. So we've already got that calendared on February 20th at Sam's Family Grounds. So we are in the program kind of planning phase for that to make sure that we're bringing, opportunities like Cedric said, bridging gaps, bridging opportunities, making sure that there's a spotlight on not just our students, but our alumni and the ways that we contribute to the community. So we have a lot of ideas, but again, as students and as student leaders, we have to make sure that we're creating the right type of balance. So we're thinking about that. The other piece is in 2026, in April, there's UVA has a Black Alumni Weekend, which we just found out that graduate students are invited to. So we were super excited to share that at our general body meeting yesterday to hopefully, again, foster some of those connections across not just Darden, but across larger UVA.
Cedric, what are you excited about when you think about what's ahead for the Black Professional MBA student organization?
Uh, I don't know if this is attributed to you and your wonderful work, Brett, but it has been great to see our numbers grow. And participation grow as well. So regardless of the event, I'm glad that I'm seeing, this is going into my third year now. The timing's weird, but going into my third year, and there has been more and more willingness to participate, more and more people involved, and I think that is the best sign, the best green light that I could have seen throughout my time in the club.
Yeah, to me, I don't see that as so much about admissions as about our current students and the club and organization and the work that you're doing. Because, to me, when prospective students are thinking about, a place, they're thinking about a lot of different things. They might be thinking about rankings and the general brand reputation, prestige of the school. Maybe that's something that's on their mind. But at the core, they're thinking about the experience that they're going to have there, and are they going to be supported? And are they going to find a community there, a group of people who they would enjoy learning with and getting to know and really being friends with. I mean, Darden is not a place where you just come to get an MBA. I think that's a pretty clear takeaway from what you shared. This is a place that's going to engage you on a lot of different fronts. And I think when you think about what you just shared, Cedric, to me, that's very much a current student story. That's about students, you know, being active, helping each other out, demonstrating, what the culture is here, and prospective students seeing that and finding that really resonates with them. And so our goal with like the podcast or anything is just to highlight that for people and help them realize that like this is a place where people really care about each other and they want to support each other. So thank you for all that y'all are doing. Got one more question for you, and maybe hopefully this is an easy one. What's a piece of advice you would share with a prospective student listening to this podcast, kind of think about their own MBA journey? Dioria, what would you want them to be thinking about?
I feel like it's kind of a buzz phrase, but being your authentic self, I think is something that's super important as you think about the things that are important for how you show up for yourself and to the rest of the world. I think during my application process, I'll say that my interview with Darden felt the most natural. I didn't feel um, kind of like I had to put something on. Like I genuinely felt like I could show up as myself. And I remember telling Ali that, I was like, I'm in true millennial fashion. I'm just somebody who wants to figure out a way to change the world. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I want to figure that out. So I think just showing up as your authentic self and not being afraid to reach out to any of us, any current students or leaders, because everybody's just so welcoming. So just make sure that the space that you're in is going to be welcoming of you and maybe the type of person that you'd like to be.
I think that's great. From an admission standpoint, in the interview, we're really just trying to get to know you as a person. It's really a great opportunity for you to share your story and kind of help us understand, what shaped you over the course of your life, why you're here, why you're excited about pursuing an MBA, how this fits into your career goals, short term and long term. You have about 30 minutes. I know that sounds ambitious for a 30-minute conversation, but it is really an opportunity for us to get to know you better, and it's something you should be excited about. If you're invited to interview, of course, it means you're also being considered for an offer of admission. So another reason to be excited. So thank you for highlighting that, Diaria. Cedric, piece of advice for our listeners?
I say this to anyone who asks, you're really going to get out of it what you put into the experience. It is challenging, but it is incredibly rewarding. And it's really easy to get caught up in grades, recruiting, comparing yourself to others because of the structure of grading. But just take a step back, remind yourself why you are here, and then be intentional with your time, be vulnerable, be willing to say yes and meet people, be engaged. You will learn some stuff, but you're also here to have a good time.
Think that's an important note. I think a lot of times when people talk about Darden, what they hear is the challenge of the academic experience, right? The case method does require you to prepare for class in a different way, and you have to show up with a perspective and you want to contribute and something to add to the conversation. That's a little different than a lecture-based environment where you may just be able to sit there and kind of listen along. That's not the social contract at Darden requires everybody to show up prepared. And so I think people hear that and they think about the work, but when I'm around students in the evenings, I'm also struck by how much fun they're having and how much they seem to enjoy each other. And there's a lot of laughter. And obviously, there's a lot that happens outside of just class. Always run into groups like going somewhere after class or doing, hear about things that they're doing weekends in between their evening classes. So, yeah, again, I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. Diaria, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I'm laughing because my class often goes out for drinks at the end of the quarter with our professor as well. So we try to get our professor engaged. But amongst us as students, usually on Thursday nights, we'll go out and have a beer or something after class, which is again, a nice way to blow off steam, but just enjoy each other. But I think back to something that Cedric said, it's about like priorities, right? So I can't always go because I have to see my trainer in the morning at 6 a.m. So it's that balance of, getting to hang out with your classmates, and, we've got, rigorous academics, but we also have a good time and we enjoy being around each other, and creating an environment where it's the students, it's our professors, and, we just get to have a good time, and staff, of course.
Yeah, I think you want to think about what's the full value of the experience. It's not just class. It's not just what you're learning. It's also the relationships you're forming. It's what's happening outside of class. And I think that's where Darden really has a lot of strength, is this sort of holistic experience, even for working professional students. So, well, Cedric, Diaria, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Always a pleasure catching up with you. And Cedric, to your point, yes, we've always had the Black Professional MBA Student Organization on here. We feature a lot of our student organizations, but I think y'all have been with us from the very inception of the organization to date. We've always had you here, and it's been great to be able to feature the organization and let people learn a little bit more about what you're up to.
No, thanks for having us, Brett.
And that was my conversation with Cedric Thomas and Diaria Henry Brown, two leaders of the Black Professional MBA Student Organization here at the Darden School of Business. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's EXEC, MBA at darden.virginia.edu. Till next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.